Hello everyone, I'm crunching a little bit, setting up for tonight's stream at 8 p.m. EST on YouTube, so today will be another duds. I hope you all enjoy. But I don't feel like it. I need to practice effectiveness. I've told people in the past I can only withstand or hold on to 2 obsessions at a time at most. Thank goodness one of them is streaming, otherwise you wouldn't see much of me. I can only really filter between 2.5 obsessions. Even that wellspring of excitement runs dry every now and then. You draw from the same well so often that you feel tired, that you feel like you'd rather do anything else, and doing that thing can be good for you. You should listen to your body when you ought to try different things, but also we want things that are not good for ourselves. Or rather, we want something that was never expected of humans to begin with. When you see a tamed lion jump through hoops at the circus, they can jump well enough because they were trained to pounce, but they were never trained to have all those eyes on them. It was never instinctual for them to have to jump through flaming hoops and menace and look all cool. Not to make the comparison between creators and circus animals, but there are things that just humans aren't meant to do that we do now. There was this really wonderful tweet that was like, I live on a planet that literally grows me food from the soil. How do I have a credit score? What does that even mean? The complexity of the human brain has extended to the point where we've overcomplicated our lives, and there are occasionally things that we want that aren't base, that aren't reasonable, that are things beyond ourselves, things that don't come naturally. And in order to do those things, especially if we want it, because human want is one of the greatest forces on Earth, many terrible things have happened by virtue of human want. If I want those things to happen, I've got to do things toward that goal. And I've got to erase the, at least for me, primal urge to just lie around and do nothing. Not do nothing. This is a very specific kind of nothing. Whenever we say we do nothing, it's specifically watching on YouTube or listening to music or laying about. We do things with our nothing. I would rather spend my time on things that I am excited for, that I would enjoy. So we need to cut instinct out of the equation. We are animals, yes, but we are also animals smart enough to calculate however many digits of pi there are. The same rules do not apply to us, even though we can otherwise take care of ourselves and enjoy a pastoral lifestyle. If what we want is something more stimulating, then we have to do things toward that stimulation, and it requires just doing things. I've mentioned in the past that I have somewhat of a combative relationship with myself, an antagonistic relationship with myself. And I find that this is actually something different that I have versus a lot of other folks I talk to, especially in this kind of space, where, yes, listen to yourself, listen to your body. Ultimately, your emotions are trying to tell you something. They are functional. They're not just there to stop you from doing things you want. There's some people who listen to their bodies so much that they've become their body's best friend and are able to work synergistically with their body in order to accomplish so many things. But I'm not sure if it's because of what I want specifically, but I found my body has always not done what I wanted it to do. Whether it is in execution or whether it is in being roused, my body is like this big angry thing I must appease like a large bear in order for me to do very, very basic tasks. And I appreciate the olive branch extended to me for that. But part of me doesn't want it. I know I could be living in the forest eating berries and curled up on corn husks. But if I want to do big things, I need to expect big things out of myself, right? I need to stop waiting to feel in the moment excited to do that thing. I've got to show up every day. Not only show up, but I've got to work every day. I've got to work. Then again, I wonder if there's a good middle ground. I don't know if there was a trauma with dealing with oneself, with having many an opportunity pass by because you didn't push yourself hard enough, or because you were too ignorant to realize that there was an opportunity there. I wonder if to a certain degree it is just a facet of us trying to cope with not being where we are now. All the people who have become successful with the healthy relationship with themselves, is that a coincidence or is that a rule? Does it just so happen that these people are just good? I don't know, I think my physical self and I need to go to couples counseling. You are not a perfectionist. And ultimately, it's a good thing. Because if you were, then there would be no saving you. I think a skill that we as creators are very, very lacking in nowadays is the ability to fail or the ability to produce and publish things that we are not proud of. And I can understand that, why we're all failure averse. We don't want to produce anything that doesn't represent us, that doesn't make us look exactly what people want to see of us. In fact, it's incredibly common, right, that we are ashamed or insecure or don't want to produce or don't want to show off what we've produced if we ourselves are not proud of it. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be something that is ironclad, that by virtue of existing is uncritiquable, cannot be critiqued. But ultimately, such a thing doesn't exist. Maybe we could think about it in the way of love, right? Some people live their lives looking for people who won't love them. Because if they're able to make that person love them, this person who is seemingly impossible to pin down, seemingly impossible to get attached to somebody, if they're able to get that person to love them, they'll never have to worry about being loved again, because they know that ultimately they can never be unlovable. Even this person who cannot love anyone deeply has loved me. And to be honest, it's the same thing with perfection. I don't think we chase perfect because we want to make the most beautiful, fantastic thing. I think it's to avoid criticism. It's to avoid being looked at and being looked at unfavorably, being seen and that first impression being something that pushes someone away. But ultimately, it's impossible. You will never be so unlovable that someone in this world will not love you. Your work will never be so perfect. You will never be so perfect that someone in this world is not going to think of you as worthy. A lot of us are worried about failure, and that fail state is us not being perfect. But does perfect really matter? If you deem it perfect, if you are finally done with that thing, if you are incredibly proud with this product, with this piece of art, with this thing that you've made, and you share it, are you still going to think it's perfect if people don't interact with it? If people don't engage with it? If people don't also affirm you in its perfectness? What if the opposite happens? What if they start saying that this thing is not good? This thing is far from perfect. That's going to hurt more. If we release something that is perfect and it is either not loved or alternatively hated, what is that going to do to you? When you've released something that you believe to be perfect, it's going to increase what you think is perfect. It's going to increase the heights of what you need to reach further and further away from you. There are so many more stakes. Everything becomes zero-sum when you think in perfect and imperfect. Instead, just look at the things you make. Look at them for what they are. Do the best you can and don't assign judgment. The best way to save your heart, to guard your heart, is if you're going to submit your work to a group of people to get their value judgments in, is to give birth and let go. When you make something and you've done everything you could, there's nothing more you can add to it. Everything you hear about that piece is thought for the next one, is resources for the next one. When it comes to worthiness, when it comes to perfect, giving yourself to other people, it's a recipe for disaster, right? Oh, I've lost my train of thought. It's really hot in my room.